Let my honesty spill out through the pages.
You're listening to Escaping the Rat Race. I'm your host, Amy Leo, a singer-songwriter and mental health educator. And our show is all about questioning the status quo and pushing the boundaries into what's possible for human beings and not probable. So tune in and get ready to escape the rat race, not only the monotonous 9 to 5 work grind, but also that incessant internal mental chatter that prevents most of us humans from experiencing more joy, peace, clarity, and freedom. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Amy Leo, and I am actually in what's relatively sunny, a sunny day here in the Netherlands. I'm not quite sure what it's doing for you, Linda, but Linda is also in the Netherlands. And she is a marketing expert. So I thought it was really important to bring her on. I get lots of questions, people getting all confused. They hear a million different things to do with marketing. So I would love if you could kind of share your own story, Linda, with business building and marketing, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, sure. Well, first to start off, thank you for inviting me. As people might hear, I am originally Dutch, so that's where the accent is coming from. I started my business 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. And before that, I've had quite a long career in all sorts of jobs. I've been an air hostess, I've been a secretary, I've been a policymaker, I've been a teacher. I did a lot of stuff, but none of it really was what I liked. I worked for a major corporate, and it always felt a bit like, this is not the right fit for me. And at one point, I decided to go to university. I didn't go to university after high school. So I graduated for my master's degree before my 40th birthday, quite a late bloomer. And then I studied something. It's a study that's not commonly known in outside the Netherlands. I think it would translate somewhere around school psychology, child psychology, educational psychology, when I would have done the same study in for instance, the States. And when I graduated, I had so much passion for well-being in education and for motivation in education, and I wanted to change the way schools are working. And the only way visible for me at that point was to start my own business, because the larger companies in Holland who do educational consultancy were not interested at the time in well-being and motivation. So I started my own business and found out that it was quite hard to get clients. So I struggled and I struggled and I struggled, and I did all the things people tell you to do. A website, business cards, and networking, and throwing myself out there. And I did get some odd jobs, but most of them didn't have anything to do with motivation or well-being in education or in schools. One day I came into contact quite spontaneously. I was at a meeting where the speaker was extremely boring, and I started talking with the guy next to me because the speaker was so boring. It wasn't really polite, but it was a major moment in my life, because this guy was an entrepreneur, was just starting up his second business, and he told me, "You should be doing marketing." And I told him, no way, because marketing and education, that's something that doesn't fit together. And I have a bachelor's degree in marketing. I'm allowed to teach marketing in, I think you would call it something like some sort of middle level education. So I thought, well, I know everything about marketing there is to know, and this is not for me. I'm not a salesman. I'm not one of those car salesmen who lies to people just to sell them things. But this guy said to me, no, there is this other way of doing marketing, and it's not well known in Holland. But if you go to the States, there are some people starting up with that at the moment. And he pointed me in the direction of a guy called Robert Middleton, Action Plan Marketing, actually. And Robert at that time had all sorts of online materials teaching people how to grow their business with what he called information marketing. So I jumped in there, bought his all the stuff he had had available, and I started working through the materials. And this amazing thing happened where what he told me to do through his materials worked, and they worked in Holland. And I thought they would only work in English-speaking countries, but it did work in my country, in my culture. Yeah, from that moment on, my business, my consultancy business grew, and it was so much fun to do the type of business he taught me to do. And I found out what worked in Holland and what didn't work in Holland, because not everything, I mean, the States and Holland are quite different in culture in some ways. And so I had to make it myself a bit, or I had to make it a bit more Dutch. But I got it working really well. And at one point, people started asking me, can you teach me how to get clients? Because you seem to get clients from out of thin air, and I want that. How you do that? So I started coaching other solo entrepreneurs on this, and at one point I thought, shouldn't this be my business? And well, asking the question is answering the question, I think. So I started my marketing coaching business, and I did a lot of more advanced trainings in this with all sorts of marketing gurus in the United States and in Ireland and in England. Yeah, so since 2009, I have this marketing business. At the end of that year, I closed my consultancy business and went on with business. And I've been happily coaching and training solo entrepreneurs since then. And I even wrote a book about it, which did come out just recently.
That's so wonderful, Linda. I really enjoy hearing the realness that you're bringing to this conversation. You know, anyone that is in business can, I think, probably relate to how the heck do you get clients? You know, what wisdom do you follow? And also this kind of beautiful piece that you talked about throughout your career. And then, you know, going in like, well, okay, I'm passionate about well-being and motivation in schools. And you had an idea of what you thought that you wanted. And life just kind of showed up, and you leaned into that conversation with that gentleman, and it took a really different path. Yeah. And you seem to be very happy with that path, Linda. So I think that the open-mindedness and openness is really, really key. And I think that's something that's missing a little bit when I speak to people, when they have such a solid idea of what they think they want, and they're struggling against, you know, they're thinking of selling, marketing, and also, you know, real circumstances like not being able to pay the bills because they don't have income coming in. So I would love to throw the ball back over to you, and if we could back up a little bit. And, you know, Linda, for you, what is marketing then? And why is it important?
For me, marketing is a way of communicating with the outside world, preferably potential clients, in a way that makes it clear for your potential clients what's in it for them to work with you. And a way of communication where they get to know you, get to like you, and get to trust you, so that they're ready to take the next step with you and buy your products or buy your services. And like I said, I work mainly with solo entrepreneurs and people with small businesses, and most of the time people in more of a service-oriented profession. So I'm, for instance, not working with people who have a shop and sell flowers or sell meat or whatever. I work more with people like architects, coaches, trainers, therapists, people like that who have an expertise they share with the world. Sometimes a photographer. I know you work a lot with musicians, and I've never had a musician as my client, I must confess.
Well, we need you. We need your services, Linda. So musicians on the call, make sure to listen to Linda's contact information.
Thank you for saying that. So marketing to me is communication and getting in line, tuning in to what your target group is looking for, tuning into their problems, tuning into the solutions they want. Because one of the major mistakes I see is that entrepreneurs are talking from what they think or know their target group needs. And there can be a huge gap between what you as an expert know they need and what they want. As you keep talking from what you think they need or you know they need, they won't listen to you. So you really have to tune in to what they need. And it's a bit like when you're not an entrepreneur and you go for an interview, for a job interview because you want a new job. If you just talk from what you can bring to the table and how great you are, chances of you getting the job are slim. Where if in a job interview you talk more, you connect the problems of the company or the goals of the company to what you bring to the table, and you show them the benefits of what you bring, it's much easier to get the job.
Yes, it's reminding me of when, well, actually almost every organization I've worked in, this has kind of been a disconnect in organizations as well, but especially when I worked in social work in New York City, there was a really big disconnect between what the agency thought that the people that we were serving needed versus what they actually needed. And what I found is even the people that were making the rules and the regulations weren't even listening to people on the ground level that were actually meeting with people, face to face in real time every day. So I really love how simply you put it and clearly you put it about tuning in more. So can you say more about that, Linda? How can people begin to take some steps to kind of get out of their own thinking of what they think that people need and really tune into what's actually desired?
I always advise my clients to go and talk to the people who are your target group or might be your target group. Sometimes people want to start a business and they're not sure about who they can serve and to choose the one direction or the other direction. You might be working in corporate at the moment and you could work as a job coach, but you also are very interested in training dogs or something. And you don't know which one of those might make the better business. Or when you are already in business and you find that your revenues aren't as high as you want them to be or you think they should be, then start talking to the people who are your potential clients, and not to sell them something, but to really get to know them, and especially to hear how they describe the problems they encounter, and whether whether you're talking as a potential job coach to your potential clients or as a potential dog trainer. There's always a problem underlying the wishes your potential clients have. So if you go and talk to people, say for instance, take the dog trainer. If you go out and you start talking to dog owners, listen, really, really, really listen to how they talk about their dogs. Do they find that they bark too much, or do they say that they're biting, or they just don't listen to you, or they walk away, or they are depressed, or I have no idea what a dog owner could tell you about the problems they encounter with their dogs. But you can find out by listening to them and listen with an open mind. And when you asked me the question, Amy, you said, yeah, how can people get out of their own thinking about what they think people need? In my opinion, the best way to get out of your thinking is to stop, just stop thinking and start listening. And it's amazing what you hear if you really listen with nothing on your mind. Because most of the time we go into a conversation like I just described, expecting to hear certain answers. And if we expect to hear certain answers, we might hear them. And if we don't hear them, we might stir the conversation in a direction that's more to our liking. And if you then come back with the results of the conversation, you don't really have the the problems in the wording your target group is experiencing them. So really, really, really listen to people. Ask open phrased questions. So no yes, no questions, no leading questions, but open questions. And as soon as you listen with nothing on your mind, new questions come up. Be curious and ask more. And ask people also that how would you want it to be? And again, with this example of a dog trainer, how would you want your dog to behave? And what would your life look like? How would your life be different if your dog was behaving the way you want him to behave? And then with a conversation like that, you have something I call problem scenarios. you find out that the dog owners have certain problems, and you find out, and you can make scenarios out of them. You can write a couple of sentences about those different problems, and people want certain results, so you can write result scenarios as well. After you've worked with me, your dog will be da 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 da. He will never bark again, or he will bark, but he will stop as soon as you tell him to stop barking. Again, it's an example. I don't know much about dogs or dog training, but that way you get and the problem scenarios and the result scenarios, and everybody who will talk to you or will take a look on your website will get the feeling, wow, this person knows about dogs. This person knows what I need, and chances are they will hire you because of that feeling.
Yeah, I really appreciate how practical this conversation has been today, Linda, so far. It reminds me, we had a gal on that is an expert in branding, and I can see directly how this is related to that, how that people get that first kind of emotional response to the content, and really understanding someone, kind of connecting at a deeper level with what they're really looking for. Seems like that would make a lot of sense to really help facilitate a good feeling. It doesn't guarantee, but could certainly at least move your direction and your message in kind of the right way, or at least a clearer way, and perhaps a more profitable way, which is quite practical as well. Today's show is sponsored by Kelly Munstrud Music and Technology. Kelly Munstrud's specialty is giving voice to the visions of heart-centered entrepreneurs and creatives through audio-related marketing. Kelly combines his 30 years in music with 20 years in business administration to help busy entrepreneurs and overwhelmed creatives take their business to the next level. Audio production and marketing services include custom-tailored music for your meditation or yoga-based service, or if you really want to build a brand your prospective customers won't soon forget, no matter what business you're in, he's also an expert in creating catchy, personalized signature songs, complete with your unique message and contact information, branded commercials and marketing campaigns for YouTube and other social media outlets, voiceovers, and podcast production. Kelly's capability to intuit what is missing from making your message more talked about, more viral, shall we say, is invaluable. Make a bigger impact in your business with one simple email. Contact Kelly today at kelly.munstrud @gmail.com. That's KELLY M as in Mary, O, N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, RUD@gmail.com. Kelly.munstrud@gmail.com. Kelly.munstrud@gmail.com.
When was the last time you laughed out loud, connected with an old friend, or did something you loved to do, even at work? Do you find yourself just getting through each day instead of enjoying each day? Many people will tell you that a life of joy and passion as a working person is unrealistic. Our Escaping the Rat Race team is living proof that this is not true. So here's our question for you. Are you clear on how to achieve more freedom, fulfillment, and joy from the inside out? Do you want to learn? To celebrate the new year, we are offering 30-minute First Step to Freedom diagnostic calls, where together we identify the first action step for overcoming your most pressing problem so you can start living free of the rat race that very day. To take your first step, send an email to ratrace@amyleo.com. Again, that email address is ratrace@amyleo.com, ratrace@amyleo.com. Space is limited to the first 25 people who say, yes, I want to take the first step toward more freedom.
So Linda, tell me, what are some other things that you see small business owners run into, if there's any? And yeah, we'll go from there. If there's anything else that you see.
Yeah, well, I think our conversation is a bit too short to tell you everything I see, because people can, all people, me as well, we are so able to get ourselves into problems or into a way of thinking where we don't see a way out, and where we start doing things that aren't necessarily helpful. What I see a lot of the time is that a couple of things. People think they have to do it alone. They think, well, if I'm a solo entrepreneur, it's not called solo for nothing. So I need to do it myself. And if I'm not able to do it myself, then I'm a loser and I'm a complete failure and I'm just not fit to be an entrepreneur. I disagree. I think everybody can be an entrepreneur, but for your thinking. if you start telling yourself you're not or you can't, and if you don't dare asking people because you have all this thinking about what other people will think and how they will make you a loser, then you limit yourself unnecessarily. So please go to somebody who knows more about doing business than you, and who knows maybe knows more about doing marketing than you, because learning the techniques and the sort of the recipe from somebody who's been where you want to go is, in my eyes, really helpful. And not in the sense that you cut out your own wisdom and you just do what somebody else tells you to do, but in the sense that if you're not a cook and you want to make yourself a delicious Indian meal from scratch, then you can start making up a recipe and try it out and find out that it's not tasty. You can also get a recipe for a nice Indian meal, follow the recipe exactly, find out if the meal you're making this way is to your liking, and if you like it, you make it more often, and by making it more often, you get more of a feel for the Indian cuisine, and you start experimenting, and you make it your own, and you make it nicer and better and more you. And to me, marketing your business is the same. It's so much quicker to follow a recipe when you're not a marketing expert, and after following the recipe and seeing the results, start making it more your own voice, more your own way of being. That's one thing. The other thing is that I see a lot of entrepreneurs who are not using a recipe, or if they are using a recipe, they sort of stagnate. They stagnate because they think they're not good salespeople, or they think that people aren't waiting for them. Nobody needs me. Why should they come to me? I'm not the best dog trainer in the world. There are people who do this way better than I, and Cesar Milan is much more famous than I am. So why would people come to me instead of him? And they have so much thinking about everything that they stop themselves from taking steps. They stop themselves from just going out there and experiencing business life and experiencing contact with our clients and experiencing marketing experiencing doing sales conversations in a certain way. and I would love for people to see that it's just their thinking that's holding them back. They're thinking about how their business should look. They're thinking about how much money they should make. They're thinking about what will make them happy, how successful they need to be before they can be happy. They're fearful thinking. Well, you name it, but it's holding us back. And as soon as we can see that our thinking is nothing more, just our thinking. It's not reality. We think it's reality, but it isn't reality. And as soon as we can see the illusion of our thoughts, then it's way easier to just do and be in business or be whatever.
Yeah, I really can relate to that. I'm having a chuckle of all the layers of thinking that I really took to be true for a really long time, and just how much time and energy that takes up in life. I had a lot of ideas about exactly what you're saying. Of course I do. I'm a human being, and thoughts constantly moving through, but about the money I wanted to make and my age. And if I didn't make it in singing by a certain age, then I was doomed to fail, basically.
Your life is worthless.
Yeah. And I've seen really clearly that there is a disconnect there. Because there's this funny thing of this realization that we take our humanity with us no matter what is going on circumstantially. Mm-hmm. So, feeling anxious, feeling happy, those things are always available regardless of the circumstance. And I know that because when my bank account is negative or when my bank account has 30 grand in it, I still experience my humanness via thinking, via this creative capacity of thought. So I would love if you could say a little bit more on the nature of thought, and then a little two-parter here. I kind of want to go a little deep and profound with you, Linda, if you'll play along with me. So if you can say a little bit about the nature of thought, and then also if you could share with us, what is the most profound or the biggest lesson that you've learned about being human? And I can ask that again if that gets caught.
Yeah. The last question was my biggest lesson or my biggest insight. And the first question was if I can say a bit more about the nature of thought. The way I see it, as far as I can see it, we have a misunderstanding about how our lives are created. Most of us are brought up with the idea that outer circumstances make us feel a certain way. It's not the word I wanted to use, but it's outer circumstances who define who we are and define our path. So if my partner is angry at me, of course I'm angry. If my bank account is low, of course I'm feeling low. If my bank account is high, I will be happy. Like you said before, if my business is a success, I will be happy. And we think that things in our environment make us feel a certain way. So if I have a lot of clients, I feel better than when I have limited clients. If I have very nice clients, I feel better than if I have complaining clients. And we all think like that. That's how most of us are brought up. So that is our reality. That what is out there is real, and it makes us feel a certain way. And a couple of years ago, I started to see that that's not true. That it's just not true. I made a lot of money at a certain point. So I was what people call successful. I won an award for Entrepreneur of the Female Solo Entrepreneur of the Netherlands. So a prestigious award. So I was there. I had arrived. And that was nice. The evening of the award ceremony was a really nice evening. And the next day I woke up and nothing changed. I didn't feel more successful. I didn't feel more happy. I didn't lose my anxiety. It was the way I felt was all still there. And now that I look back, I can understand that because it is never the awards that's making us happy or the money that is making us happy. That what creates our reality is our own thinking. We think, and through our thinking, we experience the world around us. So I found out that well-being and inner peace and inspiration is always available to us. It's always within us, even if we feel depressed or we feel anxious or we are stressed out. It's always available to us, but we hardly see it because we're so busy believing all the stuff we think. And as soon as you realize that that's okay, because that's how the system works. As soon as we realize that it's a system at work, a system in the, like, gravity is a system. Gravity is there, and we can like gravity or we can dislike gravity, and we can believe in gravity or we can not believe in gravity. But the fact is that if we open our hands when we are holding a glass of water, the glass of water will fall down and splash all the water on the floor. And the same with this system, how we as humans operate. The system is designed in a way that we have thinking, and our consciousness makes our thinking into, sort of animates our thinking into this real thing, and we start feeling stuff, and we project all this feeling onto the outside world. But in reality, it's still just our thinking. And when I made a shift from believing that my thinking was true, oh, I don't feel good because this client is angry at me, I started seeing, now I don't feel good because I have negative thinking and insecure thinking about myself because this client is yelling at me. And I'm interpreting her yelling at me in a certain way. And that's giving me all these feelings. And the same with being anxious or being afraid to do stuff. It's just my thinking. So when you ask me what's your biggest insight on that, I think that's it for me. The realization, and I'm not sure that I explained it clearly enough, but the realization that I think it's real. Everything around me is real, but in reality, it's not. In reality, I'm making it up in my mind. I'm making it up through my thinking, and it just feels real because my consciousness is the best special effects department you can buy, and your consciousness is the best special effects department you can buy as well, by the way. Because my special effects department gives me all these feelings and emotions and anxiousness, and it's hard for me not to believe that my thinking is true. But as soon as I started seeing the real nature of our thinking and the real nature of how we create our reality, so much changed for me. Stress fell away, my working became easier, making decisions became easier, inspiration was way more available. Anxiousness still sometimes is there, but I can see it for what it is, just anxious thinking. So I don't need to do anything with it. Oh yeah, I feel anxious when I'm going on stage to talk to 100 people. But it's not real, it's just my thinking. So I can step on the stage and just do my thing. Yeah, and just experience life at a way deeper level. Is that in any way an answer to your question?
Definitely. I think it was the answer to the question and even a cherry on top, Linda, so no worries. I was really, what occurred to me when you brought up the example of a client being angry at you, I could see really clearly, I think anyway, clearly what you were talking about thought kind of being the culprit for experience and not the client themselves. Because I thought, there was actually this couple in college that they yelled at each other all the time and it didn't mean anything to them, Linda. The girl didn't cry, the girl didn't, and in the past, that's how I, react sometimes too. But I can see that just because I think that that's a quote unquote normal reaction, that's also made up because different people I've seen in my life interpret it differently. You can interpret a circumstance or another human being's behavior in an infinite amount of ways. And I think that really beautifully touches upon what you talked about as thinking and consciousness being that special effects system kind of built for us.
Yeah, and it's amazing how we believe that the way we react is the only way possible. All the while we can see that other people react in different ways, but we still think that when we have a certain reaction because of our thinking, that's true. But why would it be if everybody can have a different reaction to the same situation?
Right, exactly. And we even have different reactions in our own bodies depending on whatever state of mind comes through. So that's absolutely, how could it be true? I mean, that's just a great question. It's not constant. It's always moving, always shifting, always changing, which I think I can really hear the practicality of that as well, bringing it back to building business for sure with the marketing piece and relationships.
Yeah.
So I can't believe we're almost out of time, Linda. We could definitely talk about this, I think, for hours, but maybe we'll have you back on. That would be a lot of fun. But
yeah, that would be great.
But before we let you go for today on the show, if you can please share where folks can find you to have a conversation if they're interested in your work. I also want to let people know that if you download Google Chrome, it does automatically translate any websites. So Linda is Dutch, but you'll be able to understand, some of her websites by that Google Chrome. So go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, that's great that you mentioned that as well. My website for my marketing business is infomarketeers.nl. It's www.infomarketeers.nl. And as you said, it is in Dutch, but if Google Chrome is nice enough to translate it for you, then you will be able to understand it. For people who want to know more about this last piece we were talking about, how your thinking creates your life and stuff like that, I also have a website that's more aimed at that kind of work. I have a blog on 3principles.nl, and 3 as in number 3, just a number, and principles written in English .nl. And again, those articles are in Dutch, but if you translate them, that might be a nice website to visit as well. And of course, there's a phone number and an email address on both my websites, and feel absolutely free to ping me an email or pick up the phone and call me.
Perfect, Linda. And we're going to post that too in the show notes, so folks can just head over and get it right there too, which will be helpful. One last thing, I don't usually ask this, which is surprising considering the name of my show is called Escaping the Rat Race, but I am also just curious, Linda, how the idea of the rat race has kind of transformed for you. So, what do you see as the rat race? And has that transformed? I mean, I'm assuming it did, but maybe it didn't. So I'll let you speak to however you want to about the rat race, and maybe there's some hope for listeners that are really in it right now, and it does feel really real.
And it's so funny that you asked this question, because I had an event a couple of weeks ago where I talked about this. I talked about how, and I didn't talk about it as in the sense of a rat race, but more as a hamster wheel, where a hamster is spinning the wheel. He's walking very, very fast, and he keeps on walking. And in life, but especially as an entrepreneur, I've been feeling like I was in this hamster wheel for a long, long time. I had to keep going because there were places to go and stuff to achieve, and I felt like I had to keep the hamster wheel spinning to get there. And what I found out is that if I stop the hamster wheel and picture this very chirp-like or angel-like, this fat hamster who's lying in his hamster wheel like it's a hammock, and he's eating his nuts, and he's not running the hamster wheel, he's just waiting for the next thing to show up. And that's how I feel it now. The rat race for me was spinning the hamster wheel, and the way I do it now is like this really fat, lazy hamster. And I'm not fat and I'm not lazy, but I'm just so much more laid back and reacting to what shows up and live from my inspiration. That's so much nicer.
Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds great because, as we've already discussed, we know you're not lazy, and we know that you're in action, you're building business, you're, fostering your business rather in different avenues. So, this is just such a beautiful, beautiful metaphor and picture that kind of offers an alternative, for listeners on the show. Just because it's the way we've always done it or the way that we were told to do it doesn't mean it's the only way to be productive and content and be that fat, happy hamster.
Yeah, so it's you can be a slim hamster as well. If it drives you, it's giving you any anxiety to become fat. It's the being and like you say, being productive from inspiration and in flow rather than from striving and I need to and it seems to me and people I know who are living from this space, it seems that we're as successful, whatever successful is, we're happier than ever, and we still pay our bills, and my business is still thriving from another way of being, and that's so cool.
That's awesome. I think we should definitely just end the show on that. Linda, thank you so much for agreeing to this experiment that I'm calling, escaping the rat race. I'm having so much fun, as you can see. I'm even getting tongue-tied about it. And I hope that we can have you back on. I think that would be really great. I've really enjoyed it. And again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Take care, Linda. Bye-bye. Did you notice the feeling underneath Linda's words when she was speaking, how she really had a different feeling and a sense of ease when talking about her business that I often don't hear frequently from marketing and business consultants and experts. So we are offering a free gift if you're interested in receiving not only Linda's interview via MP3, but we're creating a 3-pack Jumpstart to Business Building Kit. It includes a branding episode that we did with an expert named Amy CQ, and also an MP3 with Jean Catherine Gray about the difficulty that often service-based providers have in finding clients and quote-unquote selling. So if you're interested in that, send an email to ratrace@amyleo saying that you're interested in the starter pack, and I'll send over those MP3s to you so you can listen again. Again, the message is simple, but the impact is profound. If your particular rat race or your hamster wheel isn't financial or career or business oriented, but rather an inner game kind of thing, maybe it's your mental health. Next week, we are re-airing one of our most popular episodes to date with Dr. Dicken Bettinger. It's called The Most Direct Route to Well-Being, and in 30 years as a psychologist, he said he's never found anything more helpful to human beings than what he talks about on this show. So if you want to make sure not to miss that show, you can subscribe on any platform that you have for whatever you use for your podcast. We're on iTunes, Stitcher. All you have to do is type in your search engine, Escaping the Rat Race with Amy Leo, and click subscribe. If you have no idea how to access podcasts and you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you can do that too. You can head over to our website, escapingtheratrace.org, and then you're able to access our library and catalog of interviews via YouTube. So it's a simple click. It doesn't require you to have any fancy apps or anything like that. And with that being said, it is time for another one of what we're calling Amy's Real Stories. You can find us on Instagram at #Amy's Real Stories. Kelly, cue the drum roll, please. So today's story beautifully combines both escaping the rat race financially and business-wise, and also that inner game mental piece that I believe is so crucial to success. I think most people realize this too. We just don't talk about it as a foundation for success, but it truly is. So today's real story, without further ado, is as follows. Man with serotonin levels so low he should be dead goes on to live a joyful life and run a successful business. I'm going to repeat that one again. Man with serotonin levels so low he should have been dead goes on to live a joyful life and run a successful business. The man's name is Michael Neal, and his story is both incredible but strangely ordinary. The more that I learn about the human system and the more clearly I see, and human beings in general see, that we have the potential to live with more grace, ease, and productivity, that isn't exclusive to certain people in the world, that isn't exclusive that you need to know the right techniques or have the right training. The potential to see something differently for yourselves that drastically impacts both your bottom line financially and your overall mental well-being is available to everybody. So if you want to get more information about Michael, we're going to post that in the show notes. We're going to play out the show with a piece of music like we always do. And today's music choice is one of my original songs called Love Junkie, because it talks about the possibility that abounds in the unknown. Until next time, thank you so much for listening and keep rockin'.
Let my honesty spill out through the pages, faces, and conversations with not so long ago strangers. Let my heart fill fast with the rush of a new love, even if it's all last years. Lately I've been in a strange place. I'm falling hard for possibility. Just another love junkie. I'm falling hard for possibility. Just another love junkie. Let dependency build. Can't sleep for nothing. Lips touching and mind's buzzing from the laughter that lingers. Let my words thrill, compelled to tell all about him, even if it could end in tears. Lately I've been in a strange place. I'm falling hard for possibility. Just another love junkie. I'm falling hard for possibility. Just another love junkie. Eyes always drip from my lips to the lonely. I hate the hangover, but I keep on going. Selfish hearts always get what they want. Sooner or later, I'm bound to catch on. I'm not who I thought. Second guessing, hesitations, preconceptions, misdirections. Never an exception in all of this deception. Perception makes it messy, makes me crazy, feeling empty. Cannot say what I am feeling, so I gotta keep concealing, dealing, reeling from affection without honesty, believing in free love without the social penalties. But cannot find a way to cheat the boundaries. But still addicted to playing this wicked game. A pleasure with a side of pain. A pleasure with a side of pain. Possibility. Just another love junkie. I'm falling hard for possibility. Just another love junkie. I'm falling hard for possibility. I'm falling hard for possibility. I'm falling hard for possibility. Just another love junkie.
So this is something that truly defies the status quo. The music industry is rampant with ageism. She starts her professional singing career at 40-something years old and goes on to have great success in her home country and gets lots of radio play. So here's a little bit more about this story. The woman's name is Suzanne Bargman, and she is just, wow, what an example for all of us, because not only did she follow her dream of being a singer, but she did it amidst a busy professional career as a consulting psychologist, and she also is a mother of two. So she really shows that It is absolutely possible to overcome lifestyle challenges. And in fact, not just to survive and get by day, but to really live a life of joy and of courageous action. We're actually going to play her song right now. It's called Fall Up. And again, you can find Suzanne's music under her music name, which is Sus B, so S-U-S space B. You can find her online and reach out to her. Her and I are actually in talks that she is going to be a guest on our show in the near future, so you want to stay tuned to Escaping the Rat Race so you don't miss any goodies, any practical inspiration. Again, thank you so much for listening. My name is Amy Leo. Until next time, keep rocking.
It just goes to prove what they say is true. You don't have to be perfect, 'cause if all the little trials are tests, I think I'd rather fail. Yeah, make a mess and dance like no one's watching, sing like no one's listening, toss away all the excuses for that when something pushes you to what people are telling you. Chase the dream you're holding, toss away all the excuses for that when something pushes you through what people are telling you simply can't be done. Sure, there'll be doubters filling in the blanks with their facts. That just makes me laugh louder, slamming forward, no falling back. Dance like no one's watching, sing like no one's listening, toss away all the excuses for that when something pushes you through what people